Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. Now, in today's podcast, we're going to be covering interview questions specific to Ernst & Young. Now, it's just one question, and it's specific to E&Y, and you might not necessarily get this question in your interview. You might get more generic questions in your Big Four interview, but this question is for people looking for specific information and questions related to Ernst & Young. And if you want more generic questions, interview questions, then there's other resources that we have, like our book about interview questions. But this is for people that are interested in maybe some more specific interview questions that they might get related to E&Y. And you can also use the information in this podcast and future podcasts that we use to ask questions to your interviewer, because a lot of people always want to know the questions they're going to get asked because they want to have the perfect answer. But a lot of times there's not a perfect answer, and people don't necessarily care about your answers. They want to know what questions you have or insights you have, because most people just go into their interview nervous and thinking that there's a perfect way to do things, and then if they answer all the questions exactly right, that's what's going to matter. But it's not necessarily true. It's how you click with the person that you're interviewing with. And you can do this in a number of ways, including asking good interview questions. So with that, let's get to today's question. Today's question is, how much revenue did E&Y make in the current fiscal year? So in 2019, Ernst & Young made $36.4 billion. Now, why would you be asked this question, or why do you need to know this information? You need to know how much money each Big Four firm makes. Why do you need to know this? It's because revenue drives all of the firms. They are all competitive with each other, and revenue is literally the only thing that partners within each firm care about. Trust me, when you join the Big Four, you'll see what I mean. It'll be about revenue numbers and chargeability. Everybody's focused on utilization and chargeability. A lot of the firms now are trying to say that they don't care about chargeability and they just care about work-life balance. But trust me, that's not the case. Even though if they say that, they still push people to get their metrics correct. It's how all the partners get paid, and it's what their bonuses are based on, and it's what their retirement number is based on. Because partners get pensions, and those pensions are based on how much revenue the firm makes. This 36.4 billion number is a global number, but what's even more important to the partners in the Big Four are revenues in their regions, because most of the Big Four are run by their region, by their little partnerships. This means that partners are responsible for specific regions. So what was Ernst & Young's revenue by region? In 2019, they made $16.7 billion in the Americas, and the Americas includes United States, Canada, Central and South America. Partners will obviously be responsible for smaller regions in each of these areas, so just keep that in mind. And you'll see this when you join the Big Four. You will get emails telling you revenues in your region and what those regions' targets are. Now, Ernst & Young's Europe, Middle East, India, and Africa region made $14.15 billion in 2019. E&Y's Asia Pacific region was responsible for $4.3 billion in revenue. And finally, E&Y's Japan's region was responsible for $1.2 billion of their 2019 revenue. There you have it. That's E&Y's revenues for 2019. And you have to remember that they are the third largest accounting firm by revenue. You need to know these numbers going into your interview. Now, to get future E&Y interview questions, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, and also make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can find links to all these things inside of our show notes for this podcast. And I will likely also be compiling all of these questions into a Patreon post for our supporters so that you guys can have access to tons of interview questions in one cumulative spot. So make sure to subscribe to this podcast and keep an eye on the show notes for that information. Thanks again for listening.